Friday evening, everybody. Welcome into the Philly Friday Frenzy with your boy Big Al. Special 1 hour early, little holiday treat for you guys. Got a little early in tonight, so I figured, hey, it's 8 p.m. We grab everybody before they start just relaxing, melting in their seat after especially a long night. Coming off of the New Year's, so happy New Year's to all of you. It's Friday. Maybe you had to work one day this week. I don't know if any of you guys had to have the day off, day on, and then now you're on to the weekend situation. It would that does suck. I didn't have that to worry about that, but for those who had to, I'm sorry. But welcome in tonight. Hold on one second. Let's close the window. Here we go. Fix that a little bit. There we go. Sorry guys, it was a little off. Adam, what's up, my brother? Happy Friday to you. Happy New Year's to you. Happy 2026 to everybody. So tonight I had a couple ideas and I wanted to throw them out there with you guys. I want to talk, as you guys know, the Philly Friday Frenzy is kind of a wind down to the week, kind of catching up and digesting all the news in controversies and everything in Philadelphia sports over the week, and sit back, grab a drink, your favorite cocktail of sorts. Maybe if you've just got done your dinner recently and now you're digesting, and it's time for you to digest the Philadelphia Eagles, the Flyers, the Phillies, the Sixers. We're going to talk a lot of Eagles, and with it being the new year, I was kind of done the typical top 10, top whatever moments in Philly sports in the 2025 year. But I kind of want to walk through it with you quickly, just kind of month by month of how like the ups and downs were of 2025 for Philly sports fans, because it kind of does roll back into one of the major conversations that we've had this whole year. I'm saying this whole Eagles season, and most currently about Jalen Hurts, about the Philadelphia Eagles offense, about their decision to sit versus starting their players, to possibly fight for that number one spot, and taking the health and rest is more important scenario, where it seems to have a lot of people on both sides of the aisle. Some people kind of staying in the middle, not sure exactly which one is the right move. I'm happy to see you resting the starters. Do you think they still can get the second seed still? And we're going to get into that, and that's the conversation we're going to have. And I'm going to just kind of preface by saying yes and yes. A lot of people are going to tell you, well, that's cheap. That's not how it works. You need to fight for that spot. That 2 spot versus 3 spot can be really important, and it can be. It means one other team, I should say, can keep you from having a home game in all of the playoffs. But we're going to go through this and why this is important versus not important. So buckle in, Adam. We're going to spend a little time here. Not a long show, about an hour. We're going to be here, but we're going to touch on the Phillies. We're going to touch on the Flyers a little bit. Just kind of catch up on the news and the rumors and the things going around the world. But the big news is going to be the Eagles. But let's talk about the year. The year started off January 2025. We were just juiced, this team, this Eagles team, starting on this massive playoff run. The heart pumping, gut wrenching game of the Rams, came down to the last moment and they won. And then they go on to just demolish both the Commanders and the Chiefs for a second Super Bowl victory in Eagles franchise history since 2017, the 2017 season, Super Bowl 52. And also the second Super Bowl appearance in 3 years, but with a victory against the same team that they lost against. And a shootout that Jalen Hurts offensively had between him and Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and lost that one. And then a dominant defensive and offensive performance that just really you would not expect from a Chiefs team, no matter how good or bad they're doing, that made the Super Bowl. Michael Papernick is rolling, my friend. The Eagles offense should be on the field Sunday. It's not like it's lighting up with points. We're going to get into that. We're going to touch on that. And I'm kind of like spinning a yarn here for a second because I'm kind of want to build towards that. Build towards how we quickly forget things and how things change and how what I'm talking about here right now, how last January kind of reflects a little bit into this January. And we'll talk about that. And of course, February brings the Super Bowl champions into the Broad Street Parade, which February was just January and February was just exciting. There was no other teams going on except for the Flyers and the Sixers, and the Sixers were just the Sixers, and the Flyers were, as we knew, in rebuilding mode. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Mike. Let me just tell you that, but we're going to get into that in a moment. In March, the Sixers finally said, you know what, we're hanging up with Embiid today. He's too injured. We're shutting him down, long-term versus short-term. Then, of course, the Phillies started in March into April, home opener. The team kind of got into a surge into the standings. Kyle Schwarber lighting it up in, he started not just hitting home runs, but hitting above average, which was great to see. Plus, the hero of the All-Star game, as we all know, with the new rule, how they don't go in extra innings. Flyers in June, after everything's said and done, they start to lean on the youth and bring in some wily vets and try to start building to what we're starting to see the Flyers form into today. So, and then, of course, the summer we'd roll down with the trade deadline for the Phillies and, bringing in Duran, and one of the better all-star or trade deadlines for the Phillies in a while, but just unfortunately not enough. The Phillies would go into August and September and I would say be able to cruise for the most part into first place and everything for them, not have to play in a wild card game or series or whatever you want to call it. And again, it was Red September into Red October, and the Eagles were starting and Phillies were high, and everybody was high on them, and everybody just felt if we could beat the Dodgers, we would be okay. And maybe they would be right, but we would never know. And then October came, and the Phillies postseason drama started again, and their offense got cold, and it came down to a crazy ending to what could be a really big win for the Phillies and maybe a turning point, but we'll never know. And then the Eagles, in the September and October, kind of started better, tread up, but we're winning games despite some offensive woes, not having the running game that we were used to seeing and expecting. The wide receivers and the AJ Brown drama, of course, and into December, the Eagles were able to do something that no NFC East team has done in a very long time and win back-to-back NFC East championships. Clinch with 2 games to remain, especially against a tough Buffalo team. And kind of brings us to where we're at today to discuss the big conversational piece about sitting versus not sitting. One thing I kind of wanted to bring up here is the importance of sitting versus not sitting. One of the things here is, and there's some people who want, no matter what happens, they're going to find a way to spin their spin on it. That's just the way it is. I mean, watch major media, watch guys who do what I do. It doesn't matter. People will see what they want to see, feel what they want to feel. And you can say the same thing about me. I'm going to spin it the way I want it. And, I get roasted. I'm called a homer numerous times. When we talk about seeding being important, and it is important, we can't get the first seed. We have a chance for the second seed. It all really depends on how Chicago does. It's not an impossible feat, but when you have to rely on somebody else to win, that makes things a little different. If it's in your hands, I think the Eagles would have started their players. If it was totally solely win and they get the 2, lose and they get the 3, I think the Eagles would have played. Okay. And to answer your question a little bit, Adam, I'm going to roll back here a little bit. Do you still think they get the second seed still, even resting their starters? And I think that's what they're doing. To be completely honest with you, be it a how do you want to put it? Be a pipe dream, be it a little hubris in their thinking, because with Washington being as bad and figuring that, Tanner McKee and some of these starters, I mean, you can't sit everybody. So some guys are going to play. The whole offensive line can't sit. So you'll probably see the guys who are a little bit more banged up get a little rest. Maybe Devontae Smith will play, but A.J. Brown won't. Or maybe A.J. Brown will play. I don't know. I don't know the exact how they're going to do it. I really think more defensively you'll see guys. Jalen Carter probably not play this that much. He had one hell of a game against Buffalo. I think that's what the Eagles are doing. I really do. I think they are trying to have their cake and eat it too, which isn't impossible, because if the Eagles starters play or don't play, that has no bearing on how Chicago is going to play. We have to worry about how Chicago is going to play, right? The Eagles, can they beat the Commanders with their backups? Yeah, because they're playing their backups. It is a very plausible situation. But the Eagles are playing it more, how do I put it? Putting more onus on health and being ready. And don't tell me it's not important. And I understand, like Michael Kaepernick here he's saying Eagles should be on the fields on Sunday. It's not like they're lighting it up with points. And I agree with you. But let me ask you this question. Let's bring it back a week or two. Few weeks, actually. They played the Raiders, and they looked really good on clicking on all cylinders. And what's the one thing everybody said, Mike? It's the Raiders. The Raiders really suck, and they do. They absolutely suck. You're not going to get disagreement on me on that. Okay, and then they came, and they played the Commanders. They played well against them, and, a little slow in the beginning, but that second half, they just foot on their throat and just kept running with it. That's exactly what they did. Let's not get it twisted. That's what happened. Still, does anybody believe in Jalen Hurts or believe in this offense, believe in this running game? No. So what does one more bad Commanders game do? Because the Bills game, we felt really confident in the first half, 13 points in the first half. And the defense was clicking. Josh Allen was and the offense of the Bills had no answer for the Philadelphia Eagles defense. They got a little bit in the end, kept it close, and I said to myself, one field goal, 3 measly points, would have not made that game as nerve-wracking as it should have been, or as it was coming down to it. 3 measly points. And it's unacceptable that they scored no points in the second half. No points. The offense was a 3 and out. They're lucky that this defense was able to keep their head above water, not being completely zapped and exhausted. It's cold. It's raining. And they're on the field more often than not. And that's where I come down to agreeing with the decision that they're making, that this is important to rest. What happens if this happens again? Same type of scenario. They come out, they play really well, and they got to keep playing their guys, and they have to play hard. And Washington's looking for blood, because there's that taste still in their mouth. It's just a little while back. They all but said it. Need Frankie Louvu to play Frankie Louvu style football and crack somebody in the face with his helmet, dislocate somebody's shoulder, bust somebody's knee up. And then what? Then they're idiots. Why would you play in a meaningless game? You can't win this conversation. But I go back and look at this thing, and I look at this, and here's some key points for you guys. Some key points. The number 1 and number 2 seeds are the most frequent Super Bowl participants, with a number 1 seed winning at least 14 times since the year 2000. Okay. The lowest seed to win the Super Bowl are the 6th seed. In 2005, it was the Steelers. In 2010, it was the Packers. And the 6th seed appeared in the Super Bowl 3 times since 2000. 2 of them we just talked about. And that, what makes that important? Why do I bring that up? Because you would be saying, well, then you need to be going for the number 2 seed. Yes, but things have changed a little bit. The rules have changed, especially since the early 2000s. There's no bye for the number 2 guy. Only a bye for number 1 guy. Don't tell me that it's not important, even if a team's struggling a little bit. And again, if the Eagles come out and play really good offensive football and just light up the Washington Commanders, who, in the words of Matty B, has said that their buses were ready to go. They didn't even turn them off. They came in, they strapped their shoes on, they played a game, and all they could think about was getting back on that bus and heading back down to D.C. Heard him say it himself. What makes us think that that's not the same scenario again? And then if they do win, they do look good on offense, that it makes it different. That, are you now more secure going into the playoffs? Do you feel more warm and fuzzy that the Philadelphia Eagles have done better offensively against a depleted Washington team, defensively and offensively? I mean, they don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have many of their starters. A lot of their lines missing. Many of their defensive lines missing. A lot of secondaries missing. They're missing a lot of guys. So to answer the question, normally Adam put out, do I think our team build up a secondary, second stringers could win? Yes. And then we all know what's going to happen. Let's pretend. Let's speak it in. Let's just pretend it happens. Tanner McKee, the great Tanner McKee. And I have nothing against Tanner McKee. I really don't. And I don't know if you guys heard the words of Jalen Hurts, what he said earlier when he was being interviewed, and they were asking about, I don't know if it was today. It was recently. It wasn't today, I don't think. I forget when exactly, but they was asking about like working with Tanner and the importance of having Tanner. And Tanner's been there for a couple of years, and he's a part of the scheming. He's part of it all. And he said, I never had that. So hopefully he sees the importance of it. Taking a shot at Carson Wentz. I mean, for what happened. And rightfully so, because he didn't have that. And maybe one day Tanner will get his shot. Maybe not in a Philadelphia uniform, but maybe he'll get a shot. Because he has been everybody's favorite bargaining chip. Anytime we need a big player or want to get a first-round pick or a second-round pick or multiple picks, Tanner McKee's the guy. But at the same time, we know the importance of a backup quarterback. And let's say he comes out and he balls out on Sunday. Just balls out. Offense looks really smooth. The play calling maybe is a little bit more developed. And what's going to happen? We should sit Jalen for the playoffs and play Tanner McKee. I heard somebody today, or saw on social media, or whatever it was, that if Tanner comes out and plays really well, because nobody has tape on him, they should start him over Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts. That is the ridiculous thing from a scheming standpoint. And what my point to the conversation is, my point to talking about reviewing the year, the ups and downs, not just of the Eagles, but of the Philadelphia sports scene from January of 2025 until today, is how quickly we forget. How quickly we forget what people are capable of. Do I think that the Philadelphia Eagles offense is just going to wake up after January 5th and be like, all right, it's playoff time. We know how to play better. We're going to scheme differently. We're going to throw better play calls out there. We're going to do this differently. I think every team's going to do things differently. You do save a little bit for the playoffs, so people don't see some things they've seen all year from you. 17 games, you got some tape at this point. But to the point is, the man has gone toe-to-toe with probably one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and slung against him both times. Now, the offense was different each year. We don't have the run game that we did last year. Run games looked a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, might I add. But again, take in consideration who's running the ball or who they're running the ball against. So, would I prefer a healthier team versus a team that has to play another week against a team that has nothing to lose, who can play with reckless abandonment, who isn't worried about, like, so-and-so gets injured? Because their season's done no matter what happens. They could blow the Eagles out by 1,000,000 points, and their season's done. They have already booked weeks ago their trips to the islands with their girlfriends and their wives. They're done. They got nothing else to play for except for pride, except for their job for next year. And by upsetting or playing a very physical brand of football against their rival opponent, the rival division opponents, and make their lives limping into the playoffs a miserable hell. What's what they got to play for? And why would you want that? And that's how I look at it. What the number one seed gets, two things that we would all love to have, but we can't get one. If you get number two, you can get control, field advantage, except for one game, which would most likely in these cases be the NFC championship game. But you're not going to get that even with a 2 spot. But what they do get is that first round bye. They get to watch things play out. They get to have fresh legs. Guys lick their wounds. Listen, I get it. What's 1 week do? No, it's not 1 week. You haven't. That means if, say, Jalen's not playing, he hasn't played since he played against Buffalo. And he won't play again until next week. Not this weekend, but the following week. So that gives him a couple weeks to really lick his wounds. Not just his wounds, but I'm more worried about the defense, because that's all we talk about is the offense being stale, the offense being stale. How about the defense being overworked? Let's talk about that for a moment. Who needs that rest more than anybody? Because if this plays out the same way and everything happens the way everybody expects it to happen, that defense is going to work hard again. And then they're going to have to do it the next week. When we could have given key players like Coop and Quinion, who play 99% of the snaps, rest. Jalen Carter, rest. Give these guys a chance to lick their wounds and have a bye of sorts. Because remember, our bye was how many weeks ago? What, 8? Week 8? I forget what it was exactly, something like that. Here, hold on. Week 9, yeah. We had 8 games in week 9. So that was a long time ago. You played against a tough game against Green Bay, Detroit, game against Dallas, Chicago on Black Friday, that dreadful game against the Chargers, the Raiders, which we talked about, Washington, tough game against Buffalo, and then Washington. Then you're going to have another week. Don't tell me that a mini bye week at this point in the season isn't helpful just for guys to refocus and re-energize their battery. Maybe work on some game plans a little bit more. And give guys reps who may need it. Because that's another thing you don't forget, or you do forget. If somebody gets injured, God forbid, do you want a guy who hasn't played pretty much all season to come in and take over for you? Now you're giving him a little chance to play and knock the rust off. I mean, there's a positive spin on each way. But at the same time, I can agree with people where I can understand where they're like, they should be playing. They should get the offense clicking. What makes us think the offense is going to be any better? And again, if they did this against the Washington Commanders 2 weeks ago, would you be ready to they're back? No. Washington Commanders suck, guys. Vegas Raiders suck, guys. And here we are. That's why the offense is doing good. So what makes the difference now? Except you get healthy, a 3 spot, you still have a chance at a 2 spot, even with your backups in. I think the Eagles have a very good chance. If I'm not worried about the Eagles winning or losing, it's all about if Chicago wins or loses. That's all that matters. So if Chicago's losing, maybe the Eagles go, all right, somebody's paying attention. Put the starters back in, guys. I don't know. Maybe that's how they handle it. Or maybe they don't care. They just get through the week, get healthy, and prepare for the playoffs. Because, and don't tell me, giving them a chance to lick their wounds isn't like that first round bye in football is one of the biggest perks to being the number 1 overall seed. It really is. Second to home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Some people might say it's the other way around. Would you prefer home field advantage or would you prefer health or rest, a bye week when you haven't had one in 10 weeks in a physical game, in a game where injuries have slowed guys down, but luckily hasn't knocked anybody fully out. You know, Lane, all I heard is Lane should start. Lane Johnson should start. He should start. He hasn't played in weeks. I don't care. Of all people, I don't care. Lane Johnson? It's like a quarterback getting ready for the speed of the game and, you know, feel the ball and all that, or defensive cornerback or safety trying to get a feel of the game. Lane's a seasoned vet. He could not play all season long, and I'm ready for him to play in the playoffs. Really, I am. I'm not worried about it at all. So that's not important. Jalen played last week, had a hell of a game. Showed us he's looking pretty healthy. Now he gets an extra week, possibly an extra week to rest before he has to play another big game. And again, hindsight's 20/20. If somebody gets hurt, especially a key factor, Lyman, Jalen, AJ, Saquon, Devontae, Quinyon, Coop, anyone, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter gets re-injured. Oh, the Eagles are idiots. Nick Sirianni's a moron. He should be fired instantly. He just destroyed us. Took out one of our key players because he played a meaningless football game. This is the problem, guys. We spin it to what we want. We spin it to how we want things to feel. If we have an agenda against a player, agenda against a team, or against a coach or whatever, that's how we handle it. And it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't be that way. It's about being healthy, getting healthy. Would a number 2 spot over number 3 spot be important to me? Absolutely. But I think health and rest is to me slightly more important at this time. Because I don't think the offense is going to learn much more, too much more. Do you think they're going to pull some crazy, burn the playbook? We'll just start now. We're going to start with this playbook. I know there's some things out there. I know Saquon was being interviewed and he said something. Once we figure it out, we're going to be unstoppable. Kind of scary when the guy says that last week before the season's over and you're going into the playoffs. Like, you know, once you, what makes you, if you didn't figure it out yet, what makes you think you're going to figure it out now? We have to hope that this team can be a little bit better than what we've seen offensively. We just don't need them to be. We don't need to be the number 1 offense, but top 10, even 10. If our defense continues to play, because you just got to score some points. But it's going to be a lot harder. Competition is what it is in the playoffs. Nobody's going to roll over. Nobody's going to let you rub their belly and just play obedient to you. And that means the offense has to learn not so much about scoring as much as keeping the ball moving. These 3 and outs, man, are what kills this team. There's probably so many games that they could have won if it wasn't for all the 3 and outs. Even that Chargers, that horrible Chargers game, 5 turnovers, 2 of them in the same play. And it took overtime for another turnover for the Chargers to win. And I know Herbert had his busted hand up and yada, 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 yada. The defense was supposed to be what was carrying that team. 5 turnovers, and they couldn't get it done. Almost didn't get it done. Like, I mean, I would have to be kind of historical in some ways if the Eagles pulled out that victory. 5 turnovers in a game and you win. That would be like, it went to OT. So, guys, feel free to join in and call me an idiot, call me a moron, agree with me, disagree with me, whatever it is. I want to remind you guys that plenty of going on here at the It's Rap Sports Network. Tomorrow you have the Flyers versus Oilers post-game show. I believe that's Mikey Laro, my boy, which means you get to see him Saturday and then Sunday AM with me. That's right, Philly AM Sports. Me and Mikey Laro take you right into the last week of the season. Kind of look at the NFL. I think we're going to take a little bit. We're going to talk about the Eagles. We're going to talk a lot about what we're talking about now, but we're also going to talk about the playoff picture, see what we think could happen, all those kind of things. And Steelers pre and post game, Eagles Commanders post game, Matty B, and post game Steel City Sunday. So there is a lot to go with this first few days of January, and then of course all next week will be all January. So we'll check that out, and you'll get the props, locks, and parlays with Mikey Laro. Of course, all the wisdom of Matty B on the Final Word with Matty B. The Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, of course. All your Pittsburgh shows, including as well as Gridiron Weekly, Pittsburgh Sports Tonight, and the Sports Desk, of course. And of course, as I mentioned, the Clear the Ice, which will have a new graphic for this as well. So a lot going on at the It's a Rap Sports Network. If you haven't chimed in, haven't checked it out, haven't liked or subscribed, as the kids say nowadays, please do so. We're going to come back to the Eagles. Let's just change gears for a little bit. Talked about them for about 33 straight minutes, 34 minutes now. I would like to talk about the Phillies a little bit, some news. One of the big things, one of the names that Philly fans were trying to hope that the truth in the rumors with Tatsuya Iyami, I think I'm saying that name right, the biggest Japanese pitching prospect. Phillies were strongly linked to him, but he ultimately signed with the Houston Astros just recently. So that pipe dream, and actually, hold on, I want to check something out, because I don't know if they did that. Did they announce how much he's like, what his contract is? Because that to me will tell us a story. 3 years worth up to $63 million. So $21 million a year. It's not a bad one. But I think it's telling. It's telling in the sense that the Phillies, I don't think they have any money to spend. I still hear about the Alec Boehm rumors, trading Alec Boehm. Seattle Mariners and them are definitely thinking about it. They signed some minor league contracts with Jonathan Hernandez, former Cardinal and Blue Jay left-handed reliever. He signed a minor league contract earlier in December, mid-December. Then, of course, Genesis Cabrera signed a minor league contract. He's a left-handed reliever. I mean, I understand pitching wins championships, but it's all eggs in the basket right now. But it's all minor league contracts. Guys past their. It's like the story hasn't changed much, and that's what's kind of scaring me about the Phillies. And of course, JT Realmuto, biggest JT Realmuto fan right here. Still think he could be one of the most important pieces going into next year. But if the decision hasn't been made yet, Matty B pointed this out. We're about a month and a half away, pitchers and catchers, and you don't have your full team formed. Nick Castellanos is still a Philly, guys. JT, we don't know what's going on with him. So your catcher as of right now is Rafael Marchand, which I don't hate, but I don't love for full time. If he stays healthier, be a little better. There's a lot making you nervous here. And then another piece of news that just doesn't sit well with me. I kind of go back to the Joel Embiid Olympics thing. Guy signs a big ass contract. Knees were questionable. We already knew at that point before the contract. Still haven't understood that one. Then he goes and they allow him to play in the Olympics. And then he can't play for half the season. Then they ultimately shut him down. Now Bryce Harper committed to the Team USA in 2026 World Baseball Classic with Kyle Schwarber, who just signed a big contract. I mean, I don't think it's always going to happen, but do we remember Trey Turner? Do you remember what happened with that? I do. He was cold for most of the year that year. I don't know. Not a big fan. Not a big fan of them doing that. I understand there's prestige to doing these things, and I love World Baseball Classic. I love watching it. It's one of the few non-major league or NFL or anything. Like I even care less about the NBA tournament, in-season tournament that they do. I think that's dumb. I really don't. I care less if anything has any meaning in the standings. I do like the World Baseball Classic. They're fun to watch. A lot of guys, different countries, teammates who are playing against each other. We saw that a lot. I just don't love two guys, Kyle Schwarber, who are older. Harper's getting older, and maybe he feels, we all know the not elite T-shirt thing that he was wearing, a jab at our own manager or general manager or baseball operations guy or whatever his real title is. That was a shot at him, which just shows me that either he's using this as ammunition or there's trouble in our heels, as they say. But again, then they're slow to come out the gate. I don't need that. Again, they're older, they're vets, they know it a little better, they know to be ready. But I would say the same thing about Trey Turner. I wouldn't worry about it. I don't love it. Guys. Your commitments to this team, your contract should be that. World Baseball Classic, it just adds the possibility of injury, the possibility of wear and tear, many possibilities that nothing that helps the Philadelphia Phillies come closer to a championship. And even the biggest fans, who've watched some terrible baseball over the years, is really starting to doubt this Phillies team, and no real moves are being made. They signed Kyle Schwarber, which I don't love. It's a lot of money. It's what they continue to do is just running it back. If they traded away Castellanos and Bohm and able to make some more trades out of just Garcia. I like the Garcia trade. I don't hate it. A lot of people are just like, it's not over or underwhelming. It's just whelming for whatever that is. He could have been a nice additive if there was something else in there. I know last week I talked about my crazy Christmas list wish would have been Bo Bichette. Add him. That Garcia trade looks a lot better. But you would have to move on. I think Bryson Stott has more value than Alec Bohm. He's younger. His defense is a lot better. And he can possibly be better at the plate. But maybe he's a 7 guy or an 8 guy or a 9 guy. He doesn't have to be a 6 guy or a 4 guy or a 5 guy. It'd be nice if he could work at the top of the lineup. But I don't see that happening. But you're running it back again. The other teams are getting better, and the Phillies are just staying the same. But that means there's a saying in sports: you're either growing or you're dying. Just like business, you're either growing or you're dying. So the Phillies aren't growing, and they must be dying. It's kind of how I look at things, and I get a little nervous watching that and seeing that. And I'm excited. I'll be jazzed up. You guys will probably record this. You can screen record this, and then come spring training baseball, You'll see me as giddy as a little girl. That'll happen. But I can't sit here and say I'm super excited. I can't. As well as our boy Lenny Dykstra getting in some more trouble. He was arrested for drug charges after a traffic stop on New Year's Day. Nobody knows how to ring in the new year like Lenny does. Hopefully he gets the help he needs. I mean, I've met Lenny a handful of times. He's a good guy with some demons. I mean, that's what it is. Like, he's got demons. And hopefully he can get his stuff together. But yeah, I saw that, he really rang in the new year. Start off 2026 with a bang, for lack of better words. I do want to touch on the Flyers a little bit. They come out of the winter break. They've had a little mixed results on the road. They won 6-3 over Vancouver, and then they lost 5-1 to Calgary. Some guys have made Olympic selections. Again, I kind of feel the same way about the Olympics as I did about the World Baseball Classic, as I mentioned. Travis Sanheim and Erasmus Ristolainen and Rodrigo Aboles was named to Team Canada, Team Finland, and Latvia for the 2026 Olympics in Milan. And Rick Tocchet will serve as assistant coach to Team Canada. So, I mean, the coach thing, I know they get the time off for it and all this stuff, but again, doesn't serve my team well. I'm selfish. Call me selfish. These contracts, they get paid a lot of money. I want my teams to win. If it isn't going to help them, I don't want it. Tyson Forrester, the bad news about him is he's out completely for this. He'll miss the remainder of the season. He underwent arm surgery. They made a trade. Might have fell under the radar. Flyers acquired Philip Tomasino. I'm always saying that wrong. Tomasino from the Pittsburgh Penguins for Igor Zamula back on December 31st. And Tomasino went right to Lehigh Valley. But they called up Denver Barkey, who's been a little impressive with his debut since being called up from the Phantom. So some things to watch with the Flyers. That's what's making the Flyers fun to watch is like, and I think people are taking the same lead with the Sixers, and one game at a time, watch the growth, enjoy the players, and see what they can do. Konechny is the lead, is the team scorer for 2025, the calendar year, at 70 points, 20 goals, 50 assists. That's a little highlight there. Trevor Zegras is continuing to be a consistent scorer. He's been on the score sheet at 12 of the 14 games in December. And Dan Vladar has been solid in goal since picking him up, and he's won 3 out of the last 4 games. So that he's been in goal. So, I mean, some small but definite movements. Future for the Flyers. And I honestly bold take 2026, January 2nd, 8:45 of 2026. The Flyers can make the playoffs and get some playoff hockey back in Philly for the first time in a really long time. I mean, really long time. Was it 2010, 2011? Right? Something like that. So about 15 years, give or take. So that would be huge. And sorry, but Flyers hockey in the playoffs it's something special. Really is. But we'll keep our eye on it. But the last few minutes I want to talk to you guys about is back on the Eagles. Do you guys feel the Eagles should be playing their starters? Yes or no? I have a couple guys tell me yeah. A couple guys tell me no. Everybody has good points for either way. The only one I don't agree with is the offense. Will it make the offense better? I don't think playing against Washington or not playing against Washington is going to make them better, even if they have a good offensive outpouring. If they have a good offensive outpouring with Tanner McKee under quarterback, snap off your dial on your radio and cancel your internet subscription because you're going to want to punch yourself in the face. I already got people calling for Tanner McKee to start over Jalen Hurts, and now they want you're going to want people from the start in the playoffs. This city, this team, this fan base forgets. And you know what? I used to think that once you are a hero and once you kind of implant yourself as a sports, specialist here in the city of Philadelphia, you're like, a god. I mean, we won our first Super Bowl with our backup quarterback in Nick Foles. Could have Nick Foles done more if he had the opportunity if they didn't sign Carson Wentz? Maybe. But maybe not. I mean, went other places. He didn't do anything. He was meh. He got a nice contract off for winning the Super Bowl. And he was meh. He just had this magic when he came here. I mean, there's so many guys who have done maybe one important thing. I mean, like the 93 Phillies, they didn't even win, but people still see them as gods. Great people, great dudes just to be around. Jalen Hurts has been at the helm since 2021, or 2021 season. And has been the playoffs every time. It's been the Super Bowl twice. And won a Super Bowl. Just last year. And I'm looking at 2026 or 2025 review, and I think we forgot about that. The defense played really well, don't get me wrong. But he balled out too. Against the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. Against the Chiefs and Mahomes. The stout Chiefs defense. Threw a bomb right in the breadbasket, right to the guy. The only guy who could catch it. Devontae Smith. To put the game away. I mean, we forget about that. I'm not sitting there saying it's going to happen. I'm not just here clicking my heels and hoping that everything just comes around. But, and also I think you're clicking your heels if you think one more game would make a difference of a good offense and a bad offense in the playoffs. I think they need to sit down and take this week to review all their old games and watch what they did good and watch what they did bad and really watch it in super slow-mo and just what went right and what went wrong. And you would learn more from that than playing against a defeated, and a downright just crap team in the Washington Commanders on the last game of the season for them. They already have their bags packed. They're not going back on the plane with the team. They're probably leaving from Philadelphia International to head to Jamaica, head to the Bahamas, head to Florida, head to California, head to somewhere else that's not where football's not even thought about. And just get drunk, be with their ladies, and wait for the Super Bowl to be done and prepare for the new season early March and get back into it where everything's 0-0 again. Don't forget, let me remind you, you don't think the Commanders are coming for blood, you're out of your freaking gourd. And I'll tell you why. Hold on one second. I got a comment here. I'm going to hit that. Defense forced 8 turnovers, 11 sacks against the Commanders and KC. More glazing on the defense, please less on the average starting quarterback. See, that's Matty B didn't join us until just now. He heard what he needed to hear, and he went back and came out. This is what he does. This is him. Comes, out of his coffin. Here's what I have to say, and then back into his coffin. What did I say? What did I say earlier? I said this break, this sitting players in this week and worrying more about rest is for the defense because of the offense going 3 and out so often. Because if we do win, it will be on the back of the defense. The offense has to play better than mediocre, but not great. They just have to score points and keep the offense on the field longer than 3 and out, and they can definitely make a run. You know, a la Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos when they beat the Carolina Panthers, right? And that's what I'm saying. That's what I've been saying the whole time. I'm not worried about it for getting the. I don't think the offense is going to change much. Play on Sunday, don't play on Sunday. I don't think it's going to change much unless they. I think they would get more time if they would be better for Jalen and them to dissect all the good and the bad that they had in the season and see what works for them. And see, and like I said, watch it in super slow mo. Let it just watch. Where did it go? Did I move? Did I just adjust this? Did I drop that foot back into that foot back? Did I throw off did I throw across my body? Did I catch the ball? Did I put it in the wrong spot? Like, let them look at that. Let them so they can see where they went wrong. They'll get more out of that and plus the rest. But the rest is more for the defense. For the starting guys, the young guys who've been playing about 99% of the snaps all season long and playing more often than not because of the offense going 3 and out and not being able to give them any padding with scoring for all 4 quarters. That's why I want the rest. I'm not glazing over the defense. I'm not going to use the bad words here. The QB. But I'm also not looking past him. I'm not looking at this offense we know can be good. Because a lot of times this offense that was really good last year, a lot of same players. The big difference is the coordinator. A lot of the same players. So what I'm saying is I think the Eagles could be better on offense, but they don't have to be great. Just better. 3 measly points in the second half of the last game. That game would have been a little bit more smooth sailing in a sense. 3 measly points, and it should have been more. Should have been way more. But 3 points would have given the defense the rest they needed. And that's what I'm trying to say. I want the rest for the defense. I want a rested defense. Not another defense that has to go out and ball out and keep things down to the last second like we saw in Buffalo. And again, I don't want the Commanders, who have nothing to play for, nothing to lose, go out and hurt somebody because they want to leave their mark on the 2025 NFL season, because that's the only way they're going to do it. So, back in your coffin or listen to the whole show before you start breaking my stone. No, I'm just kidding. Have a good one, Maddie. Thank you for messaging in there. But that's how I look at things. That's why I feel this rest is more important from a defensive standpoint. Let the offense kind of figure some things out. They're not going to do it on the field against the Commanders. They're just not. They could have done it 2 weeks ago against the Commanders, but they didn't. Maybe you thought they did because they came out and played really good first half of offense against the Buffalo Bills, but then it got as cold as Buffalo in December on the Eagles offense. So they got some work they have to do. The Eagles offense has to be better if the Eagles defense continues to play at the rate they're playing. They just have to prolong drives and maybe just get a few points instead of 7 points every time. I think they put too much emphasis on like how many points. 40 points. Now, 21 points over 3-4 quarters, I'll take it. So I think the defense could do the rest. But it's the playoffs. Everything's different. People change things up, change how they play. The whole season of video on you to plan for you. It's going to be interesting how this plays out. So, to answer the original question, one last time, am I happy with them resting the starters? I think it's the smart thing. It's not about being happy. I think it's just the smart thing to do. Do I still think they can get the second seed? Yes. But it all matters in Chicago wins or loses. I mean, like, we have zero control over that. But we do have control over guys getting some rest before an important playoff run. And I think that's more important. So I want to thank everybody for joining me tonight. Nice hour with you guys. Sorry I went a little early tonight. I just thought maybe we'd catch you guys a little early, just make things a little easier, a little quieter on a Friday night. So I thought it would be a little bit more important. But don't forget, here's the rest of the lineup for the rest of the weekend. Don't forget, you'll see Saturday with Mikey Laro, and then you'll have the post-game shows for both the Eagles and the Steelers. Philly AM with me and Mikey on Sunday. And then, of course, the final word with Matty B, because he's going to get the final word. Trust me. Trust me, he will. At least he thinks he will. But other than that, guys, thank you for joining me on this Friday night. I hope you had a happy and safe New Year's. And I have a rule. That's the last time you're going to hear me here. Happy New Year's for me before I see you again. I mean, maybe I'll give it to you on Sunday. Maybe. After January 5th, 6th, 7th, a week later, I've had people say Happy New Year's to me in like late January, early February. And I just I don't know if they felt I was rude, but I'm just like, have a good day. We're past the new year at that point. It's one of those things. Happy New Year after like the first week is almost, I don't like the word fiance. It's kind of like my weird thing. I don't like the word fiance because I always said that like when I was dating my wife, she was my girlfriend. And then once I proposed her, I just started calling her my wife. I said, this is my wife, Dawn. Like that's just how I always did it. I never called her my fiance. I don't know why. The word fiance sounds pretentious to me. So I know I was supposed to tell you a story about why, because we were asked about if me and Mike would open the phone lines on a Sunday morning, and we are going to. But why I'm very reticent about doing it. It's a funny story. I'm going to have to change the names because I don't want to get people in trouble or cause any issues because my friends were involved. People I know and I respect were involved. But I'm going to do it on Sunday morning because it was asked of me and Mike, so I figured I'd tell the story then. So other than that, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you Sunday morning. Plenty of stuff here at the It's the Rat Sports Network. So if you need more sports content, it's the place to be. Check out some of the social media posts that Maddie's been putting out. They've been doing a good job. So other than that, guys, enjoy the rest of the night. Have a good night. And go Birds.